So the first Rugby Championship match between the Boks and the Wallabies is done. It proved to be a tight affair. The bookies got this one spot on. The Wallabies by 5 points. It finished 23 points to 18. Only kicks being the difference in this one. Both sides getting 2 tries. Hooper and Tamua for the Wallabies and Mbonambi and Mapimpi for the Boks. The lead changed a couple of times in this one. With the Springboks at one point leading 15 points to 7. But the Boks not able to get any points in that second half. They had their opportunities, and I mean both sides did really, but there wasn't a whole lot of points conversion in that second half. I mean at half time it was 18 points to 17 to the Boks, finished 23 points to 18, so there wasn't that much doing in the second half. But that's not to say both sides weren't trying, because they were both camped on each other's lines for a while. There were a few empty seats at the ground, which I guess is a bit disappointing, but it is rugby league kind of playoff season, and from what, I mean, I only follow the league a very little bit just when it's on the news, but the Queensland clubs seem to be doing, I guess, well, so better than the rugby team has been against the All Blacks in the last couple of weeks, so perhaps a few people turned off from going out to see the Wallabies. Also, no Falau, no Pocock, and no Coleman right in the lead up to the game. Was pretty disappointing for the Wallabies. It's, I guess, one of those ones where they wanted to really test the fitness right up until the last minute, but it meant quite last minute changes for the Wallabies. So they were kind of already on the back foot before kickoff. But after kickoff, they were on the front foot because they scored a try pretty much after 1 minute. Michael Hooper went over, made it 7-0. But then the penalties started coming. They just kept conceding penalties. The Springbok maul looked really effective. They probably didn't get as much pay for that over the course of the game as they could have, seeing as how effective it looked initially, but it did look good. South Africa were dominating territory and possession, you know, and managed to get a penalty, and then that try to Mbonambi, which was from that maul. But then Marx has taken a bit of flack for his line-out throwing of late, but then didn't ever get it this wrong. Tamua's try was from a South African defensive line-out. He just threw it long. I think Khaleesi was the target, but it was off, and Tamua just swooped on it. I think the commentator said like a seagull on a hot chip, which made me chuckle, because yeah, boy was he right there for the try. And that proved, I mean, by how close the scoreline was, that proved really costly. It was a South African error and a Wallabies kind of bit of quick thinking that was the difference in this one. It converted the try. So, you know, at halftime, like I said, only 1 point in it. If it hadn't been for that try, the Boks perhaps take a bit of a more comfortable lead in. Like the first game between the All Blacks and the Argentinians, a few guys went off early in this one. Polona now and Mbonambi, both hookers, didn't make it past 35 minutes. So that was kind of, I guess, odd. That doesn't usually happen that way. Mapimpi also went off pretty early, so it was a bit of a concerning one for the coaches in terms of, I guess, their game plans being disrupted and perhaps looking forward to future weeks. At halftime, the stats were fairly even, possession and territory pretty even. The tackling rates were both pretty decent, with the Wallabies at 87% and the Springboks at 80%. Now, the Wallabies have had pretty good tackle rates in their first 2 games against the All Blacks, but it's the second games where they have just gone from like 80 to 60. So it was always going to be an interesting one to watch if the Wallabies kind of dropped off. It didn't really happen that much this week. Penalties conceded at halftime was 7 to the Wallabies, 3 to the Boks, so that was kind of costly. Yeah, second half, like I said, the Boks couldn't score any points. Colby came on when Mapimpi went off. He had one kind of heart in his mouth moment where a ball that he was kind of chasing back kind of just didn't fall the way he wanted it when he was kind of trying to sweep around and get it. So he was lucky that didn't concede a try. So probably not, I mean, he didn't have that many chances, but not like a fantastic debut for him. But I mean, it's only kind of half a game that he played. Again, we've kind of seen the Wallabies blow overlap chances. They don't seem to quite have that cutting edge when seeing opportunities out wide. But like I've written a note next to that saying that the Bok defence was immense, because there was a while when the Wallabies were just camped on the Bok line, attacking and attacking and attacking, and they just couldn't break it. They resorted to taking a penalty, but again, penalties ended up being the difference. Other way around, the Aussie lineout was not straight a couple of times, so there was not operating at optimum efficiency either. And there was a time when the Boks were attacking the Wallabies line, attacking. Elton Yankees eventually had to resort to a grubber kick, and kind of nothing doing. So both sides defensively able to hold, not really able to crack one another that easily. And like I said, that one try from Timur was kind of just a bit of bad luck or good luck, whichever way you want to look at it. The Mbonambi try was one from a maul. So apart from those, there wasn't a whole lot of them kind of cutting each other to bits. In saying that, Khaleesi had a whole lot of good runs. He busted a few tackles. I think probably more than double any other Springbok attacking player. But Tui and Hooper were pretty good defensively for the Wallabies on the flip side. Kitsov, as always, has got a pretty good work rate. Interesting that both number 9s stayed on for the whole 80. Like, I gave Rassie, I don't know if it was a little bit of grief, but a kind of a question mark last week or the week before about not bringing Papier on for the whole 80. It's 2 times in a row he's done that now, and I kind of don't see... I mean, it shows a bit of a lack of faith in Papier for him to sit on the bench for 80 and just not get any minutes, but then I can't go too much on at Rassie because Czech has done the exact same thing with Guinea and leaving Powell on the bench for the full 80. So I guess you could say it shows a whole bunch of confidence in their starting man, but it also shows that they kind of are worried what will happen once the backup guy comes on, especially in a close game. You feel like if either team kind of got in front comfortably enough, they'd probably bring on the second guy. But when they're really trying to hang on or to pinch a win, they don't want to bring on their substitute, which is kind of concerning. It was a tense finish. There was a bit of niggle. Snyman was at one point surrounded by Wallabies guys and just had the biggest grin on his face. It was pretty hilarious, but like I said, there was a bit of niggle because I think both sides really felt that pressure to get a win. 77 minutes, the Boks were 5 points behind, 5 meters out. Then 80 minutes, they had a scrum on the Wallabies line. At that point, my son woke up from his sleep and started crying, and I had to kind of run between the rooms to quickly settle him down and go back and watch the last little tense bit of game. But yeah, Boks not able to get it done. The Wallabies just able to hold on. You could see it meant a lot to them. They've kind of had a hard 2018. That loss to the series to Ireland and some pretty lackluster performances against the All Blacks. Good for them to finally get a win. The Boks, I mean, away from home was always going to be hard. Rassie's been tinkering with the squad. With Rassie, I still think we've got to look long term because he is still figuring out the game plan, I think, for 2019. From the lineups of both of these teams, Beale playing at 10 and he was fine. Him and Timur kind of swapped places a fair bit. I think you look at both these coaches, I don't mean to sound like an arrogant New Zealander, but it looks like they're both saying, well, the Rugby Championship's probably going to be won by the All Blacks, so let's just have a look at our own squads, get our ducks in a row for 2019, because realistically that's what matters. People are going to remember who wins the World Cup in 2019 more than who won the Rugby Championship in 2018. So it's just what it looks like to me. I might be kind of jumping the gun there, but they are definitely tinkering with things and trying to get things right. So kind of take that into account as well when looking at these performances, which, I mean, to be fair, neither of these teams were that sharp in this game at the end of the day. Still much improvement needed, one would have to say. The Boks have got a big job ahead of them next week, and likewise, the Pumas look pretty good over here in New Zealand, so Australia will need to be on form next week as well. But yeah, that was it. 5 points, pretty close. Some good performances, but yeah, overall, you'd have to think both these sides have the potential to go better, and will need to go better kind of going forward. But yeah, as I say, I still think it's kind of looking to the future with both these teams with this week's performances, just with how many changes we saw in the squads. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game, who you thought played well, who you thought played poorly, the result itself, how do you think this looks for the Rugby Championship going forward, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.